Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to make this as fast as I can because basically I'm still on holiday. I'm going to be on holiday for a little while. I'm having to upload these videos with my phone data, which I don't mind using the data, but for some reason it's so slow. The video I uploaded yesterday took 2.5 hours to upload, which is obviously not convenient. So I've chosen to do requests because Bitcoin analysis remains the same as yesterday, and I suppose the last few that I've made, which is that Bitcoin, in my opinion, looks sideways and up. Technically, for want of a better word, bullish, and so I don't really have anything more to say on that. But also, if we think about the Bitcoin dominance chart, it's having a little bit of a trickle down. So it's reached a temporary peak, and so for the moment, there is every chance that alts will outperform Bitcoin in the very, very short term. And I don't expect this to be extremely big, or there's no alt season coming, but there is these relief rallies I think that are going to happen, and altcoins will outperform Bitcoin just by a small portion. It's not going to have a long-term sustained move. So we're going to have a look at Sol here just very briefly. This is Sol versus BTC, and Sol versus Tether is pretty much the same chart. There's not a great deal between it, but I have to say that the Bitcoin pairing looks a lot better than the Tether pairing. So if this loads up on my slow internet, what we will see is that there is a nice triangle wedge formation. So this is likely to find its way all the way to the apex, which is never a good thing. You don't really want this to take all the time to get to the very end, because it lends itself to a bit, I suppose, for it to actually break down. If it doesn't have the strength to break out to start with, it's usually the longer we take to get towards the end of these, they basically break down. So I'm not massively hopeful on it, but if we think about this in terms of its relationship to all these moving averages, it is above all of them. So it's above all the moving averages as we speak. There is a cross in the middle of this cloud, which is okay. What we'd really like to see is for the price action to get above the cloud and remain above the cloud, but this portion is red, so it's there isn't really any particularly strong signals in any form to say that this is going to break out. We do have this formation which suggests that, okay, we could break out of here, but the longer we spend within it, the chances are we'll break down. Another thing that I would be slightly, not massively concerned about is the money flow index finding its way, pushing up to a 90 read at the moment, which isn't massive for crypto in general, but for Sol, it kind of doesn't really like to be at those levels very often. 90 seems to be the peaky area, or at least the last peak over here. So we can see the 90 read more or less got the top of this last move up. We're pretty much there right now, turning down already. So if for whatever reason we did push up towards this top there, which is the downwards resistance level, we'll probably get rejected from there. And again, because the itchy cloud hasn't given us any kind of buy signals on this daily, then I'm not particularly bullish on it. Overall, I'm not particularly bullish on it. But just because I'm not massively bullish on this doesn't mean that it can't do some moves. You can already see that it's outperformed Bitcoin, which doesn't take much, in these sideways moves. But it's not droopy, massively droopy on the day. That would be anyway. Obviously, this is pretty volatile, and I suppose you could think about using this as a bot pair if you had the balls for it on the next breakdown. That's a 56% move from that wick down to that bottom wick, and then plenty of price action in between. But because this is the formation that we've got right now, and we are expecting it to break to the down, it might be more interesting to see if we do break down, and this isn't going to happen immediately. We're talking weeks. Even the Bitcoin analysis that I did, I'm talking about weeks. I honestly think it's going to take weeks for it, maybe even the rest of the month, for it to play out towards the top of that outside range. Same with Sol. I don't think we're looking for that to break down on the Bitcoin pairing, anytime soon, as in like the next few days or anything. Over the next couple of weeks, I still think alts have got further to go down, and Sol, in my opinion, despite looking good right this very moment in time, as far as moving averages and certain other precursors are concerned, I think that we'll probably break down and find our way to the 200 exponential, wherever that will be at the time. Doesn't mean that we're going to come down to this level now, 61,000 sats. This is going to be moving up over the next few weeks. And if we come up towards the end of July at this kind of trajectory, we're talking 7,600, more or less, around those zones, maybe even 8,000. Look, every day that we're above it, we continue to make an uptrend on this 200 exponential. But overall, I do quite like the way that the chart looks. in comparison to a lot of other altcoins. But I am not massively bullish, but it's clearly got a lot of interest. 454 Bitcoins trading in a 24-hour period. That knocks the socks off BetPro that we looked at last week, that was trading at less than one Bitcoin in a 24-hour period. So again, I'm not a massive bull, but I do like the way it shapes up. I will keep an eye on this one myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, you know me, I don't like trading charts which don't have an enormous amount of history, and this doesn't have a giant history at all. Because I like to look at things on weeklies, and if the weekly looks a little bit like this, it's not really very useful to me. But again, chart structure, as far as that's concerned, it's not so bad. But we have to recognise that in the past, we have done decent big parabolic moves and then gone lower than anyone ever imagined it to go. Yeah, and as in like very, very low. So look, we've gone parabolic again. If this goes by its previous behaviour, and again we're talking weeks now, weeks to go by, then there's nothing to suggest that this can't take place again, especially if this took place when Bitcoin was doing a massive uptrend. If Bitcoin goes and blows the roof out the Bitcoin dominance chart, and then this could happen again. So we do have to always be very careful with alts, especially ones with low, small history to them. This doesn't have an enormous amount of history, but the history that we do have says that it did go parabolic once once upon a time, and then went basically down and ate dirt over a period of months after that, and then went parabolic again. So this is something to be very, very aware of. Look, if we think about the way that this is behaving now, we get all the way up down to the 10 exponential, 10, 10, 10, making lower highs each time. Look, we went all the way up 10, all the way up 10, bounce from the 10, 10, 10, 10, making lower highs each time. So there is something that we could hold on to and go, all right, it looks good, and I appreciate how it looks, but we have to recognize that something did happen in the past, not that long ago, which would suggest that, well, there is always reason to be afraid of coins with not a great deal of history. And the history that we do have tells us that this is how it's behaved, and it could behave like that again. So in the very short term, I think it's going to go sideways with a tiny tad to the up and then with a breakdown. But overall, I would be generally too scared to trade something like this. But anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. Let me know your more requests in the description below, and I'll get around to making these altcoin videos over this next week while I'm away. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.